Detroit Lions are at a crossroads, and their next move could shape the franchise for years to come. Should they go all in on an elite, high-cost pass rusher like Myles Garrett, or should they take a more calculated approach and target a rising star like Josh Sweat? The answer isn't simple, but the impact of this decision could be monumental. Injuries plagued the Lions last season, forcing backup players into key roles. While some rose to the occasion, the lack of depth was exposed, particularly along the defensive line. Aiden Hutchinson carried much of the load, facing frequent double teams. With another pass rusher to relieve some of that pressure, Detroit's defense could become far more formidable. Mitch Milani of Bleacher Report believes Sweat could be that missing piece. He fits perfectly into Detroit's scheme. He may not be a dominant pass rusher, but he knows how to take advantage of favorable matchups, as demonstrated in the Super Bowl. His arsenal includes finesse moves, dips, and power. With Aiden Hutchinson drawing attention, Sweat could exploit spaces and create an impact. The numbers back it up. In the Super Bowl, Sweat recorded 7 pressures and 3 sacks, MVP-worthy numbers. Across the season, he notched 54 pressures and 8 sacks, leading the Eagles' defensive front. But beyond his talent, the financial aspect makes Sweat an even more attractive option. Myles Garrett, though elite, would command an enormous contract, potentially crippling Detroit's salary cap flexibility. Sweat, on the other hand, provides a cost-effective alternative. According to salary cap expert Joshua Quaipo, his projected contract stands at 3 years for $50.2 million, averaging $16.75 million per year. Garrett, by contrast, is set to earn $19 million in 2025 and $20 million in 2026. From a financial standpoint, Sweat allows the Lions to allocate resources to other key areas while still upgrading their pass rush. The question now is whether Detroit is willing to take the leap and bring him in. The Lions' defense struggled with consistency last season. A strong pass rush can alleviate pressure on the secondary, forcing quarterbacks into mistakes. Sweat's ability to generate pressure without needing constant blitzing would give Detroit's defensive coordinator more flexibility in scheme design. Looking at Sweat's strengths, his versatility stands out. He can play on either side of the defensive line, offering tactical flexibility depending on matchups. He's effective in both a three-point stance and as a stand-up rusher, making him adaptable to different defensive formations. Pairing Sweat with Hutchinson could form a devastating pass-rushing duo. Opposing offensive lines would struggle to contain both threats, forcing quicker throws and disrupting offensive game plans. Hutchinson is already an established force. Adding Sweat could elevate the entire defense to another level. Historically, teams that build dominant defenses make deep playoff runs. The Lions are at a stage where 1 or 2 key acquisitions could propel them into legitimate Super Bowl contention. Is Sweat the missing piece? Detroit's fans have endured years of rebuilding, but the team finally appears poised to compete. Smart roster moves will determine whether they continue their upward trajectory or plateau. Sweat represents an opportunity to address a crucial need without overcommitting financially. His Super Bowl performance showcased his ability to shine on the biggest stage. He isn't just a regular season performer. He steps up when it matters most. That kind of clutch ability is invaluable in the playoffs. Of course, there are risks. Sweat had a strong season, but can he sustain that level of production? Would Detroit's coaching staff be able to maximize his skill set? These are questions the front office must consider. The market for pass rushers is always competitive. If Detroit doesn't act swiftly, another team may swoop in and sign Sweat first. The Lions must evaluate their options quickly to avoid missing out on a potential game-changer. One of the key benefits of signing Sweat is the ripple effect it could have on the entire defense. With more consistent pressure up front, the secondary would have an easier job covering receivers. Opposing quarterbacks would have less time to make decisions, leading to more turnovers and defensive stops. For Jared Goff and the offense, this would mean more possessions and better field position, allowing Detroit's attack to operate with greater efficiency. Complementary football wins championships, and upgrading the defense could indirectly boost the team's offensive production. Lions fans have been vocal about their desire to see the team take the next step. With the right signings, Detroit could transition from a playoff contender to a legitimate title threat. Sweat's skill set aligns with the team's needs, and the price tag is reasonable compared to other options. Another advantage of adding Sweat is his durability. Unlike some high-priced free agents, he has shown resilience and an ability to stay on the field. Availability is one of the most underrated aspects of a player's value, and Sweat has proven to be reliable. While Myles Garrett is undoubtedly a top-tier talent, the financial commitment required to acquire him would limit Detroit's ability to address other needs. Sweat provides an opportunity to upgrade without mortgaging the future. The decision won't be easy. Detroit's front office must weigh the pros and cons carefully. Do they make an aggressive move for Garrett, or do they take a more measured approach with Sweat? The window for success in the NFL is often short. Teams that hesitate can quickly fall behind. If the Lions believe Sweat is the right fit, they must act decisively to secure his services. Adding another high-level pass rusher would change the complexion of Detroit's defense. It's not just about sacks, it's about creating havoc, disrupting plays, and forcing offenses into mistakes. Sweat has the ability to do all of that. Ultimately, the Lions must decide what kind of team they want to be. Are they content with incremental improvement, or are they ready to take a bold step toward championship contention? If the Lions opt for Sweat, they'll be securing a player who is still in his prime, with room to grow alongside an already formidable defensive core. This strategic move could prove to be one of the most valuable decisions the franchise makes. Additionally, Sweat's presence would allow Detroit to experiment with more aggressive defensive schemes, utilizing multiple rushers to overwhelm offensive lines. This adaptability is a crucial asset in a league that thrives on tactical innovation. Another aspect worth considering is Sweat's leadership potential. While he may not be the most vocal player, his on-field performance and work ethic set an example for younger teammates, fostering a culture of excellence and discipline. If Detroit commits to Sweat, they'll not only be improving their pass rush, but also setting a foundation for long-term defensive success. The Lions have an opportunity to solidify themselves as a defensive powerhouse, and Sweat could be the key to making that vision a reality. What do you think? Should the Lions pursue Josh Sweat, or should they set their sights elsewhere? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow Lions News Fan Report for all the latest updates on your favorite team.